I've largely steered clear of the Matter hype because I didn't really see any major benefits as someone who exclusively uses Apple Home. That is until SwitchBot released their Matter-compatible Hub 2 and started rolling out support for a lot of their existing range of unique smart home devices. They've also recently released the third generation of their popular curtain motor. In this video, we'll look at the SwitchBot ecosystem in Apple Home over Matter, including the Curtain 3, and hopefully help you decide if it's a wise investment for your HomeKit home. And heads up, it might not be. Let's get into it. Greetings Internet, my name is Dustin and this is myHomeKithome, and here we look at the smart home with an Apple Home and accessibility focus. I've sort of sat on the sidelines and watched as Matter's rollout has fumbled over the last year or so, and only recently decided to jump in since the SwitchBot Hub 2 is really the first Matter device to bring something interesting to the table instead of just another Wi-Fi smart plug or light strip. In a recent episode of the myHomeKithome podcast, linked in the description, I discussed my horrendously frustrating initial experience with Matter over Thread, but the SwitchBot Hub 2, their curtain motors, and their other devices were and still are the only Matter devices that I've been able to get to work in Apple Home. Now, though SwitchBot did send me some review units at no cost, they did not sponsor this video and I'm not going to pull any punches. And as you'll see throughout the video, the SwitchBot ecosystem in Apple Home is far from perfect. SwitchBot was also kind enough to give me an exclusive promo code to share with you guys so you can save a bit of scratch on the Curtain 3. You can find it and links to everything we talk about in today's video and more in the description box just below that like button. So let's begin by checking out the all-new 3rd generation SwitchBot Curtain motor and its new and improved solar panel. Alright, let's break this thing down. The SwitchBot Curtain 3 is a retrofit curtain motor that attaches to your existing rod or rail curtain assembly and lets you automate their opening and closing. This new version boasts a higher performance motor that allows you to move curtains up to 15 kilos or 33 pounds. This improved motor is also significantly quieter at just 25 decibels when in quiet drift mode. It also uses positioning magnets for more accurate opening and closing, along with a new auto calibration feature which we'll dive into momentarily. Besides a couple of other improvements that help to extend the curtain motor's life, it's also accompanied by an all-new solar panel which claims to bring double the low-light charging efficiency over the previous generation. It also has a new suspension mounting system, making it easier to position the panel for optimum exposure, and SwitchBot claims that with just 3 hours of light per day, you'll never have to charge the Curtain 3 again, ever. SwitchBot claims that their curtain motors can be installed in under 30 seconds, and although it is pretty easy, depending on your curtain's rings, grommets, or however else they attach, it might take you slightly longer. The SwitchBot app supposedly does a fairly good job of walking you through a series of installation steps, but it's largely diagram-based with no text descriptions, so strike one for accessibility. For the rod type anyway, simply place the detached motor hooks to your curtain rod with the hook facing inward. Grab the motor itself and with the SwitchBot logo facing in, by the way, this go round it's actually tactile, then just snap the first hook onto the side of the motor. Then pull the motor down and snap the second hook onto the other side. A couple of notes on installation. If you have an adjustable curtain rod, you might want to use the included transition bit, which will make it easier for the curtain motor to glide over that transition. Also, if you're planning on using the smart calibration feature, you'll need to install the positioning magnets which help the motor recognize the endpoints. Now, the smart calibration feature was something I was excited about with this new version since, as a blind guy, I fumbled around for quite a while to get this right with the previous 2 generations. All in all though, installing these things was pretty quick and relatively painless, but I did need to get some help as a blind guy, and that's because of the app's accessibility issues, but we'll get into that a little later. Now, that quiet drift mode that I mentioned in the unboxing is probably my favorite feature of this new version. When enabled, the motor is no louder than 25 decibels. For reference, because the video audio doesn't do it justice, 25 decibels is more or less a human whisper at about 5 feet away. That's pretty impressive. Now, don't expect your curtains to fly open in this mode, but this is really nice, especially for something like a good morning scene. Even at its max speed, the Curtain 3 is only between 40 and 50 decibels, which equates to typical library noise, and I know I regularly slept through that during college. I often harp on the need for physical control of your smart home, and though the SwitchBot Curtain pairs very well with the SwitchBot Remote, if you have Touch and Go enabled, all you have to do is tug on the curtains a little and the motors will do the rest. Now, since our significant others nor our friends and family actually care at all about our awesome smart homes, these are perfect ways to keep everyone in the house at peace. Now, for me, the best part about the Curtain 3 is that I can control it natively in Apple Home by connecting it to the SwitchBot Hub 2 thanks to Matter. But you know what else matters? Keeping your tech safe and charged up while you're on the go. And today's sponsor, Ekster, has the perfect solution for you. The Grid Backpack is a tech lover's dream. This 21-liter backpack opens 180 degrees for quick access to what you need when you need it. The Grid Backpack also features an air mesh ventilated back panel and a 600D water-resistant body with waterproof zippers, all made from recycled PET plastic. Inside you'll find a suspended laptop compartment that can securely store your 16-inch MacBook Pro. It's also got dedicated compartments for tablets and documents, keys, Bluetooth trackers, sunglasses, and more, including a cozy little spot for Ekster's all-new 26,800 mAh laptop power bank with fast charging. It's got two USB-C ports and a USB-A port to keep all of your devices juiced up while you're on the move. Ekster has also designed a couple of separate cases specifically for the Grid Backpack that help you organize and safely store all your smaller tech goodies and DSLR-style cameras, which is perfect for content creators. Best of all though, you can get one now for 20% off by using promo code myHomeKithome20 at checkout or by going to shop.ekster.com/myHomeKithome20. Check out the links in the description to save 20% off your new favorite tech bag, and thank you to Ekster for supporting the channel. Okay, so getting the Matter QR code in the SwitchBot app was easy enough, and getting the Hub 2 into Apple Home worked just as it should. The Curtain 3 in Apple's Home app is really straightforward and functions much like a dimmable light. You can toggle the curtains fully open or fully closed or anywhere in between. The settings are also fairly standard, but something weird that I noticed when I first brought the Curtain 3 into Apple Home is that they were assigned as blinds instead of curtains, and I recommend changing this to avoid any potential issues with Siri. In addition to the Curtain 3, the Hub 2 allows you to bridge an expanding portfolio of SwitchBot accessories into Apple Home. Their previous generation curtain motors, blind tilt motor, which I'm excited to check out, their really interesting retrofit deadbolt robot, and most recently their contact sensor and motion sensor can all be used natively in Apple Home. You can even control the company's namesake SwitchBot button pusher, which I always thought was kind of a novelty, but once I got it attached to my Nespresso machine, there was no looking back. While the Hub 2 allows you to bridge a variety of accessories into Apple Home, unfortunately at this time you can only bridge 8 devices over Matter, and 2 of those are occupied by the Hub's temperature and humidity sensors. This is a huge downside of the Hub 2 and may be a deal breaker for some, although 2 curtain motors that are paired together do count as a single device, and you can connect up to 120 SwitchBot accessories to the Hub 2 and control them using Siri shortcuts. I asked SwitchBot about this, and they claimed that this is a limitation of the Matter spec and that their R&D team was hard at work trying to find ways to expand this. This is good news, especially considering that the Hub 2 was recently updated to allow for any devices that you're controlling using its IR blaster to be exposed to Apple Home, which is awesome. I've been using the Sensibo Air for years to control the mini split system in my bedroom, and it's worked like a charm, but it's a unitasker and I'll take any opportunity to remove a device from my Wi-Fi network. Getting this set up was surprisingly simple, especially considering some pretty major issues that I've been having with the app, which we'll talk about in a moment. Just tap on the Hub 2, tap Add IR Device, and choose the type of device it is. I went with Smart Matching, and all I had to do was press a button on the remote, and for my mini split system anyway, I was given 3 different remote configurations. Then just press the button in the app and confirm which one is controlling your IR device. It's really that simple. Getting it into Apple Home was also pretty snappy. Just back out of the air conditioner controller, tap on the Hub 2 settings, choose Matter configuration, and add the device as a selected accessory. Then it just pops up in Apple Home. It's a little unfortunate, but more of a limitation with this type of device in HomeKit rather than SwitchBot or Matter, but only the thermostat and the heating and cooling modes are exposed to Apple Home. There are a few more options like fan speed control and vertical and horizontal swing that didn't make it over from the SwitchBot app. We've talked about a couple of the features of the SwitchBot Hub 2, but there's more, so let's break this thing down. The SwitchBot Hub 2 is a Matter-compatible bridge which connects the SwitchBot ecosystem of smart home devices which work over Bluetooth mesh to the internet over Wi-Fi. It also has an integrated LCD display which shows the room's current temperature and humidity picked up by the external sensor on the Hub's power cable. It also has 2 capacitive touch buttons which allow you to trigger SwitchBot accessories and scenes. The SwitchBot Hub 2 not only gives you access to Matter, but also direct cloud services including shortcuts. Over Matter, you can use the Hub 2 to bridge 6 compatible SwitchBot devices, but the Hub itself is capable of connecting 120 SwitchBot devices, which can be controlled in their app or using shortcuts. I really like that the Hub 2 does more than just act as a translator and has that LCD display and the 2 capacitive touch buttons. Personally, I do think that the 2 buttons would be better if they were hard switches as opposed to inaccessible touch ones. SwitchBot did tell me that they're looking into exposing these buttons over Matter, which would be really cool, but they weren't able to give me a time frame for when this might be rolling out. I do have confidence in them though, since they did expose their IR blaster to Matter and therefore HomeKit. Speaking of HomeKit, let's take a look at how some of the other SwitchBot devices look in Apple Home over Matter. The SwitchBot bot shows up as a light switch with basic on-off functionality. This isn't ideal since if you ask Siri to turn off all the lights, it'll also activate the SwitchBot bot regardless of how you're using it. Since it is so versatile, it would have been much better to expose it as a smart plug, but maybe this is something that SwitchBot can actually fix with a firmware update. Another odd bit is that the SwitchBot motion sensor actually shows up as an occupancy sensor as opposed to a motion sensor. As far as I can tell, this doesn't affect any automations or anything, but it's worth noting. Now, I've said a lot of good things about the SwitchBot ecosystem, and they're all true, but there is one glaring problem that I personally cannot overlook, and it affects my ability to recommend any of their products. The SwitchBot app, which is vital to everything in their ecosystem, is by far the most frustrating and quite possibly least accessible app I've ever come across. The most basic functionalities of the app, like creating an account and adding an accessory, are next to impossible without sighted help. As far as I can tell, this is mostly due to the app using images of text as opposed to real text, but there are other underlying accessibility issues. So without getting too much more into the whys, let me show you what I'm talking about.
My home. Button. Add. Button. 23.9 degrees Celsius. 59%. Not in room. Button. Mini split. 24.0 degrees Celsius. Button. Contact sensor 98. 4:48 p.m. Closed. Button. Nest OS machine. Press mode. Button. Curtain 3 2B. Curtain 3 2B. Fully closed. Button. Button. Pause. Button. Chart. Open. Pause. Close. More. Button. Close. Pause. Open. Button. Open. Pause. Close. More. Button. More. Button. Button. Curtain 3 2B. Puzzles. A hub has been found near your device. You can turn on cloud services for this device to experience more features. For example, not for now. Cancel. Not for now. Not for now. Cancel. Go to set. Go to set. Cancel. Cancel. Go to set. Curtain 3 2B. Puzzles. Fully closed 100%. Open. 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 Fully closed 100%. Open. Pause. Close. Sync control when turned off. You can control each side separately only on the stage. Delay. Schedule. Auto charging. Light sensor.
Now, as you saw and heard, a lot of the app is in fact accessible, but this is a very recent development, which I'm very happy about. I have fought with the SwitchBot app for over a year and only just recently was able to independently create an account and minimally carry out the most basic of tasks. Setting up the Curtain 3 also required sighted assistance since the tutorial videos didn't have any audible instructions, nor were there any text-based alternatives. Honestly, I was really frustrated with this whole experience and kind of disappointed at just how poorly SwitchBot was addressing accessibility, but it does look like they're improving at least some of my concerns. It's not all bad news though. I did notice that a lot of their devices do have an audible beep as well as a flashing LED to let you know that they're in pairing mode and once they've been paired. This is something we very rarely see in a smart home device and is much appreciated. Physical buttons, access to battery compartments, and installation of most of the devices I tested anyway were fairly intuitive and accessible. Like I mentioned earlier, even the SwitchBot logo on the Curtain 3 is engraved and therefore tactile, which is a huge plus since it is so crucial to proper installation. I implore the SwitchBot team to continue working on accessibility remediation, not just because blind people simply cannot use their products without help, but because accessibility considerations improve the user experience across the board, not just for those who benefit most from accessibility. With all this being said, I'm reluctant to recommend SwitchBot products, and this is a real shame because they have such an innovative approach to the smart home. For me, the connected home is way more than just the cool factor or convenience that it provides. It can actually change lives and give people back independence. I'll continue to use my SwitchBot devices in Apple Home and try to get the most out of them because they really are great devices, but I definitely take these points into consideration before making your purchase. So what did I miss? What questions do you have? Let me know in the comments section down below. Also, don't forget to check out that description box where you'll find more information on everything we talked about in today's video, that promo code, and links to everywhere else you can find us online, including social media at myHomeKithome and the blog over at myHomeKithome.com. I appreciate you watching until the end, and until I see you in the next one. Take care.